welcome to an episode of Rediscovered Movies. I'm your host, Nomfanelo and Malloy. So today I'm joined by a special guest. He's no stranger to the pod. He previously appeared in season 3 for the episodes for The Other Guys and Black Rain. So please welcome back Khalif.
Hello, hey y'all. How's it going?
Hi,
Thank
Khalif.
you.
It's so great to having you here. It's always fun when you're here on the pod. So thank
Thank you. It's
you
a fun
so much.
show. Love watching older movies.
Absolutely, thank you. So the film that we're discussing today is, I would say, is a fun one. So we'll be talking about Charlie's Angels. So Charlie's Angels is a 2000 action comedy film that's based on the TV series of the same name, created by Ivan Goff and Ben Roberts. So the film is directed by McG, who's known for directing films such as Terminator Salvation and The Babysitter. The screenplay is by Ryan Rowe, who's known for Secret of the Wings, Ed Solomon, who's known for Men in Black, and John August, who's known for Titan AE. So the film stars Cameron Diaz, Drew Barrymore, and Lucy Liu. Here is the synopsis. A trio of elite private investigators armed with the latest in high-tech tools, high-performance vehicles, martial arts techniques, and an array of disguises unleash their state-of-the-art skills on land, sea, and air to track down a kidnapped billionaire-to-be and keep his top-secret voice identification software out of lethal hands. They're beautiful, they're brilliant, and they work for Charlie. In Charlie's Angels, a sexy, high-octane update of the original 70s action comedy TV series. I believe that synopsis is from Google, so that's how they wrote the synopsis for this movie. So the film was released in theaters on November 3rd, 2000. It had a production budget of 90 million. In regards to box office, it made over $259.7 million worldwide. It opened at number 1 with over $40.1 million domestically. It beated films including Meet the Parents, The Legend of Bagger Vance, and Remember the Titans. In regards to critical reception, it has a 3.1 rating on Letterboxd. It won 2 MTV Movie Awards for Best On-Screen Team and Dance Sequence. At the time of this recording, it is available to stream on Tubi, Stars, Hollywood Suite, and Club Elysia, and is available on demand, so check your local provider. All right, we could get into first discoveries. So, Khalif, you want to start?
I feel like I saw this movie back in the year 2000, around the time when it came out, just randomly with my family, picking up a movie from Blockbuster. 3 cool people doing spy stuff. Seemed like a cool movie at the time. I don't really remember much about the first time I saw it, though. I remember the classic scene where Cameron Diaz has like her foot up against some guy against a wall, saying like, "Spit it out. Who is it? Who's the villain?" I remember that for some reason, probably because of like their striking outfits. There was a lot of costume changes in the movie that I just didn't remember, but a lot of wild outfits the entire time. So the first time I saw it was a lot of it was lost on me. I feel like Bill Murray was probably funnier when I was younger as opposed to now. But yeah, at the time it seemed like an okay, fun evening kind of movie. Nothing more.
Mm-hmm.
What about
And
you?
have your thoughts changed since watching it recently, or pretty much still the same?
Upon rewatch, there is a lot going on for sure. It's definitely a 2000s movie. I completely had no idea that Tom Green was in it, and he was in it for a lot. It was like a cameo, but he came back like 3 times in the movie, doing a whole Chad bit. And the entire time, I'm like, yeah, that's a man from Ottawa for sure. He's definitely an Ottawa guy. So that completely missed me the first go around. And the second time, I was baffled. Um, and the movie just felt like a parody, honestly, at some points. It was like so over the top and comedic. It
Mm-hmm.
it was too much, you know? I don't know. I got the vibe of like too much kung fu movie from the 2000s era. It was just definitely a time capsule kind of thing.
Hmm. So for me, I believe I saw this movie on TV at the time. Now, I think I saw this movie right after seeing the sequel, Full Throttle, which we will
Okay.
discuss in the next episode. But I don't remember my initial thoughts, but I do remember enjoying the movie. At the time, I wasn't aware of the TV series because it came
Mm-hmm.
out like in the 70s, way before our time. So I never saw the TV series, so I can't really compare this to that. But I really enjoy it because I've seen my fair share of like action movies, and for me it is quite up there. Like I love like the action scenes because it really made me dismiss like those days where it's not CGI. Like you could clearly tell like the stunts and all that stuff, which we'll get into. But I really dug this movie. I still do to this day. I thought performances are great. I found like the leads, the angels, they work so clear. And also too clearly, this is a 2000s movie, but I would say overall it's enjoyable. It's a fun, good time for sure with this movie.
I agree.
So yeah, absolutely. So we could get into the highlights. Like obviously this movie is very campy.
Very campy. Yeah, that's a good word for it. It's a very camp film.
Yeah, like I would say it's very self-aware with the humor. Like it doesn't take itself too seriously. Like for example, when at the beginning Natalie tells the UPS guy to quote stick things in her slot, I thought that was hilarious.
Good joke there. It was a good joke.
Hmm. And another moment during the opening sequence is when LL Cool J, like in the airplane, he tells the guy next to him that, oh, it's another movie from an old TV show, referring to the show that they were uh, playing, I suppose, in the background. And I wonder if this was said intentionally because, in a way, it's kind of like meta commentary, as this movie is based on a old TV shows.
Oh, 100%. So yeah, it's a good poke. It's a good reference for sure. I did not know that
Hmm.
was LL Cool J at the beginning. I missed that part.
Oh, really? Yeah, that was him. That was him. And I would say
That
that sequence was fun to watch.
the opening sequence, yeah, it was quite the. I did not expect the Drew Barrymore pulling off LL's face there. That was took me back a lot.
Yeah, kind of like Mission Impossible when when Tom Cruise used to wear the mask. It's kind of like that.
Yeah, it was very interesting how this film had a lot of like tropes that you see in a lot of like later films here. So like I found they were doing a lot of quipping and things like that, like they would do in Marvel movies. And it wasn't cliche because they were the first ones to do the quipping. That's where the quipping started and everything like that. It's very
Hmm.
interesting. To your point, I did like how
Absolutely.
they didn't have a lot of CGI and everything with their fight scenes. I did feel like they were kind of over the top though, but I guess to your point, it is very campy, so that is a good highlight.
Absolutely. And even though like this movie is more comedic, I do enjoy it has its moments of tension. Like for example, when they show Jason, played by Matt LeBlanc from Friends.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a moment where it looked like he was talking to Alex, but we only see her backside. And when like she shot from the back, like that was quite shocking because I thought, oh, like did she die? But it turned out, oh, it's just a body double as he's filming
Yeah,
a scene there. So
that got me too. I was like, oh my god, she's dead, and then he just tosses her to the ground and says like, "We're doing the next take," and I'm like, oh, okay, that's not her. Right, right.
yeah, I thought that was great. Also, to another moment when Dylan when she gets shot by Knox, when was it during like the climatic scene when it's revealed he's the bad guy? I was kind of like taken aback at the time watching that, but then once you see the slow-mo, the reveal where the bullet missed her, so
Yeah, he just
that was
completely missed.
yeah. Hmm.
For me, I took it as it was scary, like, oh, she was in danger, until I realized he missed, and then I was like, oh, you idiot, you just missed the shot. She was right in front of you. How did you screw that up, you know?
Yeah. I mean, it was pretty close, pretty close. Like it
Yeah,
wasn't
yeah.
like far off, but
Another moment that got me was right after that scene when they go back to the agency, and there's that brief moment where they were thinking, like, wait a minute, if they have Boz, why would they destroy the agency and everything? And it was the moments as they're walking up right before the bomb exploded. I think
hmm.
Dylan's character was like mid sentence, and I was not expecting it at all.
Yeah, yeah.
A lot of good moments in the film for sure.
Absolutely. So, I want to talk about the action scenes because I loved like it's like if you're looking at it today, you could say it's very old school in terms of how they choreograph it and how it's like shot and all that stuff. Like clearly they're using a lot of wire work and in
Hmm.
ways like it kind of looks like ballet, like as how like John Woo would describe like with his action scenes in his movies. So like I really enjoyed those moments. Like I would say if I had to choose one action scene that I liked was the alley fight when they're fighting the Thin Man, where we see
There
at
is
one
so much
point,
going on in there.
yeah, absolutely. At one point, I think Cameron Diaz, she's like flying up in the air to do this high kick. Like that was a moment.
The classic like bicycle kick in the air. Yeah.
Hmm. Hmm. But I would say at times, like watching that particular moment kind of reminds me of, I think it was Scary Movie 2 when they did a
Mm.
parody of that scene, which is hilarious. So,
That's why, like, the Charlie's Angels scene felt like a parody of itself. It was crazy. The Thin Man also like flung himself through the tiny cracks of a chain link fence. Like he was a thin man, but he wasn't that thin of a man. It was just absurd at times. It was very funny for sure.
mhm, absolutely. Were there any other action scenes that you enjoyed yourself? Or?
I found the scene with Dylan where she was confronting the five men was a very interesting scene. I like how she called out her shots and then did them. I
Hmm.
didn't like how she actually did moonwalk out of the room. It was cool up until that part, and then it wasn't really fast.
I wouldn't call that a moonwalk. That's
Yeah,
not
no,
even
exactly.
close.
She kind of just did the running man backwards a little bit. That's what it was.
Yeah, yeah, I enjoyed that scene as well too. And like with her being like hand tied, like it kind of like
Mhm.
helps to build that tension because we all know that she was gonna defeat those guys at the end. So
She's very cool. Yeah.
absolutely. And I would say that because during the end credit scene, they show the gag reel, and watching
Hmm.
that just made me miss seeing those stuff in movies in general.
Yes, I agree 100%. As soon as it came on, I said like this is what end credits should be. It should be fun. It should feel like the teardown and wrap up after the production, you know?
Hmm.
Not just
Hmm.
like these are a list of names of people who were there. Just incorporate it into the movie. Make it fun like the movie is. Yeah, 100%.
Absolutely, absolutely. Also too, I loved how like with the angels, like they all have their own like personalities and story arcs. So with Cameron Diaz, she plays Natalie. Her character is more like the nerdy type because she loves to wear the Spider-Man underwear, which is funny. And like clearly she's single until she meets Pete, played by Luke Wilson. And she loves Thursdays out of all the days of the week. And she
Nice
loves
day.
tickets and tickets as well too. So that's funny. And I do find it's like funny that she was able to identify the bird when they were trying to find Bosley's location. So
Hmm.
that was a cool moment for her. So what do you think about Natalie in this movie?
I found that all three of the mains were very interesting in that they were all well rounded in like their abilities. Typically in like spy movies and things like that, there's like the getaway driver, the door fixer, you know, the muscle, the brains, things like that. But it felt like everybody kind of did everything. Like Lucy Liu's character was an astronaut and knows about bombs and is also like when the trailer was getting shot, she was like acrobatic enough to not get shot. Cameron Diaz's character is the one who snuck into the vault, and she is the getaway driver, and she is the smart one. It's like this team is stacked. Charlie's Angels
Mhm.
will solve anything.
Absolutely. And I would say like with Drew Barrymore's character, Dylan, her character is more, you could say like the wild card in a way, because we
Mm-hmm.
kind of don't know how she'll respond to things, but we do know she gets like overtly emotional, particularly when she finds out that Knox is the bad guy. So,
And when they
and
took
all,
her lighter.
yeah, yeah, also too. And like her fling with Chad, like, is it a fling or are they serious? I wasn't too sure on that.
I mean, it depends. If you like ignore the context of them being married in real life, then just a fling. But if you know that they were like married together for a while, like while that movie was filming and everything, then yeah, she's really into the Chad. She really likes the Chad.
Absolutely. And the way they say the Chad is just hilarious.
Tom Green has a certain kind of delivery for sure. That's an Ottawa man, I'm telling you.
Yeah. I mean, we would know since we are from Ottawa, so absolutely. Also too, like I enjoyed the soundtrack. Like for a soundtrack that's
Yeah.
very 2000s, I would say it's right up there.
Hmm. I also feel like the movie reminded me I haven't heard the song Charlie's Angels by Destiny's Child in a long time. And I'm like, yeah, this is a good song.
Oh, it's actually called Independent Women.
Yes. Yeah, right. Yeah, the throw your hands up at me song. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Independent Woman. My bad, for sure.
Yeah, because I remember at the time that song was everywhere. And I don't know if you ever watched music videos when they were on like MTV or Much Music at the time, but I remember
For sure.
that song was always on rotation. So
Hmm. They don't do that anymore. They don't make songs with movie tie-ins anymore. They really should.
I think they still do, but not as much.
Yeah,
Not as
yeah.
much. Hmm. I would say yeah, that song was cool. Also too, I liked Song 2 by Blur when Dylan is fighting Nox, the five guys, while being hand tied. That's a cool song because I know that song was also popular at the time as well too. Also too, I liked Heaven Must Be Missing an Angel. That's when Natalie is dancing in her Spider-Man underwear, and also too, I believe the final scene of them at the beach. Like that's just a cool 70s song to listen to. And also too, I would say when they play Simon Says by Pharaoh Munch, when they introduce Knox's lair, when we see Sam Rockwell wearing the glasses and the hair is slit back. I find that's a cool throwback song. But were there any other songs that you enjoyed in this
Well,
movie?
actually, it's crazy that you mentioned that last one because
Hmm.
while I was watching the movie, that song played during that sequence, and I
Hmm.
Shazammed it. I like took my phone out to the screen, and I'm like, "What is this? What is this song? I remember this song, but it's so good." And yeah, so that one really, really got me.
Yeah, absolutely. And when it comes to scenes, there's a lot of great scenes in this movie, in my opinion. I enjoyed the Soul Train sequence with Natalie when she's up there on
Yeah,
stage.
that was an interesting scene for sure. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, because I figured that's how the crowd would react that way. but it
I was
worked
watching
out
it
at
with
the
some.
end.
It did come around for her for sure. I was
Yeah.
watching it with somebody, and they pointed out that she had no butt and she was dancing, and I'm like, no, I think the fact is that she's a white person up there, and she's just saying, I'm gonna take charge of the Soul Train stage now, and it's like everyone's looking at her like, what's going on here? But yeah, that was the scene started awkward, but it did have a good turn. Good for her.
Yeah. That's a cool moment. Also too, when Natalie goes through the sensors, like with the white suit, was a cool scene. In a way, it kind of reminded me of when Tom Cruise in the first Mission Impossible movie is trying to go through the sensors, even though it's like a different setup. If you remember that
Mhm.
moment when he's trying to, I don't know, I can't remember what he was doing in that scene, but in ways that were kind of similar, which reminded me of that. But yeah, I
It
would
did
say a
feel
cool moment.
interesting.
Hmm.
I feel like I noticed when they were doing all the setup for that stuff, they didn't measure the guy's head shape, and they made a big point to be like it has to have his head shape, but then they just got in without needing the correct head shape for some reason. Or Natalie and him have the same kind of head, one of the two.
Yeah, who knows? Who knows? But we just have to go with it.
At the end of the day, for sure, yeah, yeah. Like everything the Thin Man did, his antics, you just have to go with it. That's just the Thin Man. That's what he does.
Yeah,
Sniffs hair.
absolutely. I found it was quite funny when the angels are introduced to Knox's case at the beginning. Natalie jokes about Vivian being behind Knox's kidnapping, but in a way that ends up being accurate.
Yeah, yeah. I love it when a movie does that. I love it when a piece of media just like does a very cheeky thing like that and says, you did it, and then it turns out they did it.
Yeah,
It was in front of you the whole time.
absolutely. And I don't know what you thought about that scene when Alex is leading the seminar for the engineers, like where she's wearing that all black leather outfit.
It was an interesting one. It was an interesting scene for sure. I was surprised that Melissa McCarthy was in the movie. I forgot she was in
Yeah.
it too. She kind of
Yeah.
came out of nowhere.
Yeah, because I do remember like she appeared in a bunch of like different movies and shows, like in small parts until she landed her big break. But yeah, she was funny as well too in this movie.
A little aggressive, but yeah.
Absolutely. And it's funny that how like the men are following Alex in that scene like lost puppies essentially.
She's just a horde of nerds. That's yeah, she took the horde of nerds down to distract everybody.
Uh it worked. It worked. So
Yeah.
yeah. And also too, like it's always fun to see like Sam Rockwell dance because I know on YouTube there's a bunch of different like I'm sure compilations of him dancing either on talk shows or movies and stuff. And he does have that moment when Knox is loading, I believe, the software in his lair. So that was cool to see on screen.
I heard things about Sam Rockwell's dance, but I didn't know that he did like I didn't know he was dancing a lot in his projects and stuff like that. That's pretty cool. I'll check that out.
Yeah, because I don't know if he's a professional dancer or he just loves dancing in general, but
I think he just
I,
does it for the love of the game. Yeah, just
yeah.
loves to move.
Hmm. Absolutely. And it was like there was this funny moment when Natalie is chasing the Thin Man in the race cars as they're standing on opposite ends on the bridge. It's funny, like there's a seagull in the middle of the road, and then it
Yeah,
flies off, and then they, race towards each other in ways like they're playing chicken. So
yeah, exactly.
that was yeah fun. So were there any other highlights for you that you wanted to mention?
I think that was it for the highlights. We covered a lot of good stuff. I think I was just genuinely also surprised by, like you said, the acting quality of the movie and everything. Just it was a good ensemble cast for sure.
Absolutely. And I do want to mention that Bill Murray, I thought he worked as the comedic relief essentially with his character.
I'm a certified Bill Murray hater. Uh I can't defend that man. Everything he's in, I just can't stand him. His vibe is so weird.
Yeah, I have a fun fact about him. I'll share later on, but
Okay. I'm interested.
yeah. So we could get into the lowlights, essentially what we disliked. So I'm not familiar with the old TV series, but I do find here it's just weird that this movie it claims that they're like a PI firm, but in a way
Yeah.
they're more like a spy agency or maybe like a somewhere in the middle.
Mm-hmm. Like they don't follow laws for sure,
Yeah. But their
but
work is similar to espionage essentially.
yeah, like dealing with like international levels of this tech billionaire has been kidnapped and everything. Like that's not something you take to somebody in a newspaper. Take that to the
Yeah.
FBI.
Yeah. But oh well, it's a movie, so just
No,
go
it's
with
true.
it.
Hard to place for sure. I wonder what like their prices are, but
Yeah. So also too, we've mentioned this movie is very 2000s, and of course it has its pros and cons, and I would say the cons are very noticeable. I'm not a prude myself, but clearly there are shots you could argue could be quite exploitive. Like for example, when Dylan is flirting with the limo driver, like she's showing a lot of cleavage, wearing the blonde 70s type wig with the glasses.
and the way she just licks the steering wheel before she runs off is
Yeah.
a lot for sure. Yeah,
Yeah.
unsanitary too.
Yes.
You don't know
Yes.
where his
Yeah.
hands have been.
Yeah. Even though he wears gloves, but sure.
Yeah, just like no need to be licking that for sure.
Yeah, yeah. And also too, there was a moment when Alex, when they're at the drive-through and clearly the speaker box is broken and she leans over and they show the shot from behind as he tries to fix the speaker box with a piece of gum, which I found out was hilarious. But
Yeah, it was a super necessary establishing shot. We had to get it from that angle,
yeah,
100%.
yeah.
My God,
Yeah. Again, I'm not a prude myself, but I just thought that was just worth to know.
it was a little much for sure. Yeah, over the top.
Yeah. And I want to talk about Knox's plan. So it seems clear that he wanted to go after Charlie because he believed that Charlie killed his father, but it ended up being revealing that apparently his father was a double agent and got killed by the other side. So I just wondered though, like his plan, I don't know if it's the screenplay, but I don't know, it could have been more thought out, to be honest, because he was found, I would, in my opinion, too quickly by the Angels as they were chasing the Thin Man. It seemed like not too far off from where they were at, like with Roger Corn at that event they were in. So also to frame Corin as the bad guy, just how it pans out did not make sense. Because it seemed like they weren't rivals, but you said you never liked the guy, so I
A
don't
lot of little
know.
details, a lot of little threads that
Yeah,
just don't add up for sure.
yeah, because I don't know what you thought about those aspects of the movie, but for me, it just was not fleshed out, I would say.
It did feel like the last bit of the movie, things were just kind of falling into place just so they can kind of get it done. You know? Yeah.
Hmm.
There were definitely some like leaps that they took that were too convenient.
Yes. Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And also, too, it's just with the Thin Man, I don't get what's his deal with hair.
I don't know. He like kept it in his pocket or something for like the entirety because he had it when he cut it off in the alley, and then
Hmm.
again at the racetrack, and then again
Hmm.
at the end too. It's just like,
Yes.
ugh, my God.
Yeah. Is
It
that to
has to.
show is that to show that he's creepy since they
It
refer to him as the creepy thin man?
it has to be because her hair can't smell good after that long. Like I would think after the second interaction, her hair doesn't smell like it did the first time.
Yeah. Unless if he does something to maintain that smell.
Mm. He's shampooing and conditioning the hair pieces that he got. Yeah, that makes sense. That's thin
Or
man
or
behavior.
or keeps it in like either like a Ziploc bag or a container.
In his fridge, in the crisper, to keep it at the right temperature. Yes, yes, that makes sense.
It's so funny, so funny. And also too, I found it was like when Natalie is rescuing Bosley, she takes a phone call from Pete and
Oh,
then
yes.
essentially ignores Bosley until Vivian shows up to fight.
That whole sequence there, yeah.
I just thought that was hilarious because clearly uh, she's dealing with distractions, and I know she likes Pete and all that stuff, but come on now, like focus on
It's tough.
rescuing Boz.
It's caught, you know. It does help her, though, that everybody who fights in the movie only does it one at a time.
Yeah.
No two people fight one person. Everybody just waits their turn every time. So that's good for her.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And also, as a final note, it was just weird when Bosley and Corin, at some point, they're wearing these sumo wrestling outfits as they're fighting. That just came out of nowhere.
The movie had like a very specific interest in like Japanese culture for sure. Like Japan showed up a lot. I
Yeah.
think one of the writers just loved Japan and wanted to include Japanese things, like the sumo suits for some reason, and
Yeah.
having Cameron Diaz learn some Japanese too. Like,
Yeah. But also, too, it just shows that with Corin, he's fascinated by Japanese culture.
yeah, yeah, that's to a weird degree.
Yeah. Like when we saw when he's introduced when he's given the massage by Alex.
My
But
goodness, yeah,
yeah.
weird
So
Japan obsessed man.
absolutely. So were there any final notes you wanted to share for this category?
Lowlights would be Bill Murray once again. Just I'm not enthused by his performance. I feel like the scene where he was talking to the bird in his cell, I have a feeling that there's a director's cut where it's just him going on for another like 30 minutes to this bird. But other than that, no. I mean, like I said, the fighting scenes and things like that were a little bit over the top, and that could rub you the wrong way. But if you take it as camp, then it was a fun time.
Yeah, yeah. So we could get into the trivia, so some fun facts. So there's a lot on this movie. I'm not gonna share everything. So apparently Drew Barrymore, because she's also a producer of this movie, so she bought the screen rights for the TV series prior to filming the movie. Apparently, that decision earned her an estimated $40 million for the first movie, and a possible $80 million for the second movie.
Wow,
So
that's
good on
smart
her.
investment. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So we've mentioned earlier Melissa McCarthy. But her cousin, Jenny McCarthy, apparently auditioned for the Natalie role. She obviously did not get the role, but
It kind of sucks when your cousin gets in and you don't.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Also to some other casting news. So apparently Angelina Jolie was originally offered the role of Alex, but she turned it down because she wasn't a fan of the TV series. And then it was offered to Jada Pinkett Smith, who declined to film the Spike Lee movie Bamboozled. And then Tandy Way Newton was finally cast, but apparently had to leave due to freak weather, which caused Mission Impossible 2 to overrun its shooting schedule. But in an interview in 2020, Tandy Way Newton revealed that the reason why she rejected the part was because she felt that the role was objectified, pointing, and said that her character was going to be introduced with a close-up of her butt in tight denim. And apparently she also quit as a result of a meeting with the Sony Pictures executive at the time, Amy Pascal, where Pascal told Newton that no one would buy a Black woman as being college educated, even though Newton studied at Cambridge, and tried to turn her character into a stereotypical Black woman.
That's crazy. I mean, good on her for saying no.
Yeah.
There's so much to unpack there. Like, the fact that she said no, I feel like this Amy Pascal person probably didn't go to Cambridge as well. And it's weird that they still got their shot of someone's ass in denim in the movie, which is gross. But that means that Lucy Liu is the fourth choice? Is that what I'm hearing?
Well, apparently also too, Nia Long apparently passed on doing the role to work on Big Mama's House, but in an interview back in January 2023, she revealed that that was a lie. She said she wasn't cast because the producers said she looked too sophisticated and too old next to Drew Barrymore. So they end up casting Lucy Liu instead. And apparently after seeing the movie, Nia Long admitted that she thought it was the right choice because, Lucy Liu was doing extreme stunts, and Nia Long didn't think she could have done them. So
That's fair. Valid.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So in this movie, so the bad guys, they use guns, but the angels don't. So Drew Barrymore insisted that the angels be able to do all their fighting without firearms.
That's interesting. I like that. It's a
good
stance to take.
Yeah, it just shows that, they don't need a weapon to take their enemies down. Oh. So let's talk about the Thin Man. So apparently the Thin Man originally had lines, but the actor Crispin Glover, he didn't like those lines. So he asked for them to be removed, and the director McGee and Drew Barrymore, they agreed to make it a non-speaking role to give the character a more mysterious feel.
I can see that. I did wonder what his problem was the entire time I saw him, so.
Yeah. And also, apparently he came up with many of his characters' eccentric traits, such as ripping off women's hair, sniffing it, and then screaming.
So that's just something he does in his pastime. Okay. Okay. Interesting to know.
Allegedly.
Yeah.
Don't want to get sued here.
Fair.
But
just a joke.
I don't think he does that. I don't think so. So Chiang Yang Wen, so he was the martial arts choreographer and trainer for this movie. He did a cameo where he appeared as a fellow passenger during the opening sequence at the plane. Apparently he can be seen speaking Cantonese to two pretty women, teaching them to say thank you.
If you remember the guy in the beginning of the movie. Yeah, on the plane. Oh, cool. Good for him.
Yeah, absolutely. So, this story, like, I remember seeing this story at the time, I think it was after the movie came out. So apparently Bill Murray and Lucy Liu did not get along at all. As apparently a heated argument between them shut down filming for a day. Apparently, Bill Murray allegedly said, "I get why you're here, Drew Barrymore, and I get Cameron Diaz has talent, but what in the hell are you doing here? You can't act." Apparently, that's what he said. So apparently, the remark is said to have prompted Lucy Liu to launch a physical attack on Bill Murray. In recent years, Bill Murray cited script problems as the reason for the feud. He explained, "We began rehearsing the scene, and I said, 'Lucy, how can you want to say these lines? They're so crazy.' She got furious with me because she thought it was a personal assault, but the reality is she hated these lines as much as I did. I feel very warmly for her now.
It's very interesting. I'm on Team Lucy Liu. I've heard all I need to
Yeah.
hear. That's crazy. Why would Bill Murray say that? But
Honestly, I don't
I
know.
I
I don't
saw what he
know.
did in this movie. It wasn't that great. He didn't do any great things with his lines. She was doing flips and stuff, man.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know.
That's so
And
mean.
yeah, and a final fun fact, which I'm sure you might like this one. So apparently, the director McGee publicly claimed that Bill Murray physically attacked him on set, but then Bill Murray he vehemently denied it.
So there's two problems with somebody else and Bill Murray, and he's the common denominator.
It looks
I'm
that
not saying
way.
anything. I'm not saying anything, but I don't know. Seems like Lucy Liu agrees with me.
Absolutely. So we're at this final point here. So Khalif, should this movie be rediscovered?
Okay. Here's the thing I will say about this movie. It is 94 minutes long. So if you have 94 minutes, maybe. It's no Oppenheimer, so there's that, like if you want to, but like there's a lot of, if you like Tom Green, he has a good cameo. The Chad bit was funny. Soundtrack was good.
Yeah. So for me, it's a lot to unpack there. For me, I would say absolutely yes. Check this out. This is a fun action comedy movie because it's in my wheelhouse because I've seen these types of movies before, so I'm accustomed to them, obviously. It's a fun, good time. I would say like the cast works. It's cheesy, obviously. I would say it's the better movie than the sequel, which we will get into for the next episode. But I say it's worthwhile and go check that out for sure.
Can I ask you a question? Do you
Yeah.
know about the nuns? There was the nuns in the airplane, and the nuns, they were recurring characters. Where do they fall into the lore? Are they angels as well?
I have no clue, to be honest. I have no clue.
The background characters, nuns, are a mystery. That's fair.
Maybe. 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 So that pretty much concludes this episode of the podcast. So next episode for the finale, we will talk about Charlie's Angels Full Throttle. Khalif will be back for that. So Khalif, you want to share, if you're on social media, if you have anything going on?
I'm real jazzed and excited to be on the next episode. I used to be on Twitter, now the X app, but I don't really know what's going on with that thing anymore. So, yeah, I don't really know if I'm on social media anymore, but I'll be on the podcast for sure. Thank you for that.
Absolutely. So you can find me on Instagram, X, YouTube, and Linktree at Nomfanelo. You can find the podcast on Instagram, X, YouTube, and Linktree at RD Movies Pod. You could, if you want to support the podcast, you could visit buymeacoffee.com/RD Movies Pod to donate. On Spotify, you could answer the feature poll, leave a comment, and rate the podcast. On Apple Podcasts, you can leave a review and rate the podcast. And you could submit questions, comments, and suggestions by email, which is rediscoveredmovies@gmail.com, to be featured on the after show, which will air after the season finale. So I want to say thank you, Khalif, first for being a guest on this episode of the podcast. And are there any final notes you want to share?
I cannot wait to talk about the sequel, and I will reveal which one I like better in the next episode.
Absolutely. And I want to thank you guys for tuning in to this episode, and catch you on the next one.